Alright, I want to discuss angle of elevation and angle of depression. These are words that you're going to see in the application problems that you need to make sure you understand. So, it's important to know that angle of elevation and angle of depression are both always measured from a perfectly horizontal line. So if I have a perfectly horizontal line, I want you to picture your eyeball being right here. And your eyeball is going to look straight out. If you have to look up to something, then that angle formed by the horizontal line and what you are looking up to is your angle of elevation. If that same eyeball is looking straight out and you have to look down at something, then that angle is the angle of depression. The way that you're typically going to see it explained is in a picture like this. You might have a plane flying overhead and somebody looking up at that object, or somebody up ahead looking down at another object. So here I have a plane who looks down to the people in the control tower. So that angle that they're looking down is the angle of depression. The people in the control tower have to look up to the plane, so they have an angle of elevation because they're looking up. It is really important that you understand that these two angles are going to be the exact same degree. In all of your word problems, since this is right triangle trig, you should have a right triangle in every single problem. So if this were my problem, then my right triangle would look something like this. And I have my right angle right here. And I have a plane flying overhead. And they spot the air traffic control tower, and their angle of depression is, say, 25 degrees. So this angle right here is 25 degrees. It's them going from the horizontal looking down. When we're looking at our right triangle, though, this angle is not actually inside the triangle. When we're doing the trig, we need the angles inside the triangle. So you really have two options. You can recognize that the angle of depression is always going to be congruent to the angle of elevation and choose to put your 25 degrees inside the triangle in the correct location. Or your other option is that you can recognize that these would have to be complementary. So if I take 90 degrees and subtract my 25, then this angle would have to be 65 degrees. Either way, now when I do my trig, I have one angle that is inside the triangle. You don't need to label both, but you need to pick and choose which one you want to do. What you can't do is read that the angle of depression is 25 degrees, and so you choose to label this angle as 25 degrees. That is not correct, and you will get the wrong answers. There's a couple of other things that I wanted to discuss to kind of make sure you understood what you were doing on your homework for the applications. Altitude is going to come up a lot. When you think about the word altitude, a couple of real-world examples of where we hear altitude is in like an airplane, and that would be a height above the ground. Or also, if you're standing on top of a mountain, it lists the altitude. That is also a height of the mountain. So if you see the word altitude, and what they're talking about is this distance right here. They want the height of the triangle. How tall is it? The other thing that's going to come up is ramps. So I told you all of your problems are going to have right triangles. So if this is my right triangle, then the actual ramp is the part that you would drive on, or skate on, or, I don't know, drive the boat on, whatever you are actually driving on. So the hypotenuse is always going to be the ramp. The rest of these lines, these are just the support for the actual ramp. So if they tell you that the ramp is 15 feet long, then they're telling you the hypotenuse is 15. So make sure you're labeling that correctly. That should hopefully be enough to get you started on the application problems. So good luck.